Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. In the first story, we'll tell you about a greedy old man our OP worked for. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. So you feel you were cheated out of 15 minutes? Let me fix that. Years ago, my grandfather's cleaning lady either quit or died. I forget which. And he was left all helpless and dirty because in his day, the women cleaned and the men went out and did the real work. He was retired by this time. It wasn't easy to find someone to clean. I graciously offered to help save him from wallowing in his own feces. I exaggerate. He actually wasn't a naturally messy person, so it wasn't a terrible job. He'd been paying the old cleaner $20 for 2 hours, and I lived about 25 miles away, so this wasn't exactly a cash cow for me. I tried to arrange things so that I got errands done on cleaning days or visited other families so that the trip wouldn't be a total waste, but mostly it was just that I don't mind cleaning and wanted to help him out. It's semi-important to the story that my grandfather was pretty well off. When he died, I believe the estate before taxes was about $1.5 million. He'd burned money like crazy on certain things, e.g. he had 3 cars and trucks he would trade in the oldest every year and had a ton of expensive toys. But he'd drive 10 miles to a gas station that was 2 cents cheaper per gallon or forget his wallet if you met him for lunch. So I guess in the end he considered himself quite frugal. Anyone who's cleaned for money knows that over time, as you establish a routine and work out best practices, the new job takes a lot less time to complete. It took me 3 hours the first time, and he was there to see it, but only paid the 2-hour rate he'd been used to with the other person. Whatever. Soon I was down to like an hour and a half, and kind of worked out a rotation of extra projects he never asked for, like Mr. Clean erasering the fridge, which apparently was white under all the cigarette smoke residue, emptying cabinets and cleaning the shelves, etc. He was usually gone by the time I was cleaning, either his Bible study or various old person pursuits, but he did come home a few times that I'd stayed really late, so he was aware that staying late was a thing. Once every so often, I'd finish up about 10 to 15 minutes early, and it didn't make sense to start a new project because I had to be somewhere and couldn't go over time. I think this happened like 4 times in 3 years. So one day, he was home the whole time, which was really a drag since I like to zone out and play music while I work. Time passed like frozen molasses that day. It got to be about a quarter of the time I was supposed to leave, and I was done, mostly because there were a couple things I started to do only to have him say, don't bother with that this week. And it was one of those weeks where I couldn't stay late, so I couldn't start a new project. So I packed up my stuff and left at about 10 till. He would always leave the 20 on the table, so I was already paid, but the next week there was only 17 plus 50 cents in dimes. So after telling me not to do some of my regular chores that would have brought me up to the hour, knowing how far I drive to get there, knowing I stayed late a lot to get extra stuff done for no money, and finally, knowing that by the time I'd put everything away, it was 10 till instead of a quarter till, he decides he was cheated out of 15 minutes and withheld accordingly. I was pissed, like seriously pissed. There was a whole history with him and his weird economies, not the worst of which was the forgetting his wallet thing, and yet because he was my grandfather, I'd always looked the other way and tried to do nice things for him. Back then, I was a lot nicer, or dumber, I'm not sure which. I guarantee that was the last time I ever stayed so much as 1 minute over the hour, though. There were no extra projects. If I finished the usual chores early, I'd sit and watch the clock. This was long before cell phones had internet, so I would usually bring a book. If he happened to be there, I'd move as slowly as possible and polish the absolute crap out of everything in my path, so it took 10 times as long. The next visit after the one where I found the shorted pay waiting for me, I left 15 minutes early, after setting every clock in the house ahead 15 minutes. And when I say every clock, I mean every effing clock. Alarm clock? Check. Grandfather clock? Check. VCR? Check. TV? Big CRTV where the system clock was 5 menus deep in white Nintendo font? Check. Stove? Check. Anniversary clock? Check. Watch that he left on the dresser? Check. Silver fish novelty clock in spare room? Check. Cuckoo clock? Check. Clock attached to outside thermometer? Check. Little snowman clock mixed with all the crap in the curio cabinet? Check. He didn't have a computer, or I'd have changed that too. He was home again for whatever reason, so I had to be pretty sneaky I even changed the clocks in his cars. He never locked them since they were in the garage when I went to take the garbage out. He was early to whatever old person activity he'd scheduled for that day and was complaining that every clock he owned was wrong. I really don't think he suspected. Not because he didn't have a massive persecution complex, he did, but because I'm female, and honestly, I don't think he believed I knew how to work all that fancy machinery. And our second story. Don't want me to fix the servers? Fine. Background. Sometime around 2000, I worked for a major finance brokerage company in the IT department. I worked the overnight shift alone, and among other things, my responsibilities included monitoring of the company's most important servers, including all the trading servers, as well as performing almost all repairs on these servers, since my shift was the least impactful on business. These servers were how every trade from every broker worldwide was processed on behalf of clients. We had 8 servers, all behind a load director. For those non-IT people, think traffic at an intersection with a cop letting vehicles know which way they can go. At the time, I reported directly to one of the assistant vice presidents for IT, cast as simply me, Dawn, AVP, and Kathy, VP. So, at some point doing my job, I began to notice issues with our trading servers. I determined the cause, come up with a plan to repair the failing parts. On the first night of the week, I'll take down 2 servers, repair them, bring them back up, and put them back behind the load director. I'll repeat this for the next 3 nights, allowing all 8 servers to be repaired with minimal impact, and have the last night of the week in case anything goes the way of the toilet. Understand that while I had the authority to do this, with just about any of the other 1,000+ servers the company had, I could not touch these without Dawn's approval. So I sent an email to Dawn detailing the problem, the parts I needed to order, the plan, etc. All I needed from her was a response that said approved, and I would have everything completed within 2 weeks. Also note that I had red receipts turned on for all my emails. As you can probably guess, I heard nothing back. 2 weeks later, I follow up with another email reminding her of the issue and including all the documentation I'd sent with the first one. Nothing. Another 2 weeks go by, and I send a second follow-up email noting that this isn't a question of if these machines will fail, but only a matter of when. Crickets. Another 2 weeks go by, it's now about noon on Friday, and I'm home having just begun my weekend. I get a call that goes something like this. Me. Hello? Kathy. Is this Morpheus J? Me. Yes. Kathy. This is Kathy. Me. Who? When I'm off the clock, that part of my brain turns off, LOL. Kathy. It's Kathy, your boss. Me. Oh, hey, Kathy. Oh, this can't be good. I'm now realizing that my boss's boss is calling me at my house, and all that excrement must have followed an upward trajectory towards the device circulating air. Kathy. All the trading servers have crashed. We need everyone on hand. Me. I'll be there in 20 minutes. It was usually a 35-minute drive. Basically, one server crashed, and the load from that server was transferred to the remaining 7, which caused number 2 to fail under the increased load. Rinse and repeat for all 8 servers. I arrived at work to find the entire team there with 8 brand new servers ready to be built. We get everything built, locked down, restored from latest backups, and online by 6 p.m. Then home for the weekend. I get to work Sunday night, my Monday, and the first thing I do is print out emails and those oh-so-precious red receipts. I place them in a nice folder on the corner of my desk. At 7 a.m. Monday morning, end of my shift, Kathy walks into my office and asks me to join her in her office. I say sure and grab the folder and follow her. When we get to her office, present are me, Kathy, Dawn, and a lady from HR. Kathy. So, Morpheus J., I understand from Dawn that it's your job to monitor the trading servers. Can you tell me what happened? Me. Sure. Opens folder. As you can see from this email dated XXXXXXX, highlighted for your convenience, I notified Dawn of the problem and requested approval to go ahead with the fix. Here, opens folder again, is the red receipt showing she read it the following morning at XXXX a.m. Again highlighted for your convenience. Rinse and repeat for the other emails. Kathy. Okay, thank you, Morpheus J. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Fallout. The company lost a stupid amount of money making good on every single trade that didn't happen due to the crash. I came back to work that night to find out from the team that Dawn was gone. I never told them the details. I was assigned to the backup contingency planning team and later to the team that implemented the BCP so that something like this would never happen again. We got a new AVP. And our last story. Homeowner got what was coming to him after daily harassment. I worked an engineering/construction job last year for a home builder, and we had to deal with a bunch of 5G anti-vaxxer health nuts moving into one of our neighborhoods. Constant complaints about the construction, the noise, the debris, which made no sense because they chose to move into the neighborhood before construction was completed. One man in particular would harass us daily, complaining about the streetlights being too bright, they weren't, and complaining about a generator we had running about a block away from him to power the site temporarily until we had infrastructure in. The complaints ranged from the generator was damaging his hearing, thing was almost completely silent, or that the fumes from the generator were coming into his house and causing him and his kids to have stunted development. They would come up with stuff that made little to no sense. It escalated to the point where he got the city and the mayor involved, and we got sued, so we gave in to his request and moved the generator to an inconvenient location and had to take the time and money to rewire to be able to power the areas needed. This was including important stuff like the streetlights we had to leave off for a couple of nights until the move was complete, and you guessed it, he would call to complain. The nerve of this man. So here comes the revenge. We received an order from the city to install a 5G tower on site to improve cellular connection because the area we were in had pretty bad service. Since my team and I were in charge of creating the plans to install the infrastructure, guess where we all simultaneously agreed to put the tower? Right smack dab in front of the angry man's house. We thought this was incredibly hilarious and couldn't stop laughing every time he'd call freaking out while the tower was being constructed. Got to the point he tried to file another lawsuit, got laughed away, and within a week we never heard from them again. Moved out faster than the wind. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.